Right, hello guys, welcome back. So in today's video, we are talking about my new favorite primary weapon, which is of course the Necrochasm. This weapon was kind of mid before, to be honest, but now in the final shape, it received a substantial rework to its catalyst, which actually makes it a very solid primary option. And in today's video, I'm going to explain to you exactly why this is, and also show off an example build at the end that makes the best use of this awesome exotic. So let's start with the rework it received. With the release of the final shape, the catalyst was changed because previously it was just outlaw, which was pretty bland, pretty boring. However, now we have an entirely new perk called For Thrall, which now reads, hitting 3 separate targets increases damage, range, handling, and aim assist for a moderate duration. Of course, this sounds awfully similar to One For All, which is a similar working damage perk where if you damage 3 enemies separately with the same weapon, it will give you a 35% damage buff for 10 seconds. So is One For Thrall any similar? Does it work the same? Well, all of these are questions we're going to answer in this video, but we will get into that shortly. However, before that, I do also want to mention that auto rifles in general received a 15% damage buff versus red bar enemies with the release of the final shape, which just by default puts them in a much better place than they were before the final shape. And because Necrochasm is an auto rifle and it's also kinetic, it gets a very big benefit from that buff. This is the reason that weapons like Kvostov and No Hesitation feel as good as they do. It's because of the buffs they receive. But enough of that, let's get into the numbers. So normally on this Legionary, we hit for 1901 on a body shot, but if I hit 3 separate targets in a row, we get One For Thrall in the bottom left, and I hit him again. It hits for 2566, which I'll have the numbers up on screen, but that is a 35% damage bonus. So the bonus is exactly the same as One For All. However, that is where the similarities end, because there's quite a cool thing with One For Thrall that regular One For All doesn't have, which is the fact that it's able to be refreshed, which is one of the main pain points of normal One For All. So if we see here, I'll hit this Scion here and that one as well, and then we'll get this one too, and then I have One For Thrall in the bottom right. I'll let the timer tick down a little bit, but then I'll shoot this guy, shoot this guy, shoot this guy, and then it's back to the 10-second timer. So basically, what this means is you can keep that 35% damage buff going as long as you are getting kills and as long as there are adds to kill, which is very nice because it just means you have a 35% damage buff all the time. So yeah, those changes do make it a very solid primary because it deals a lot of damage. But buffs aside, it already had the foundations for a very strong primary because the Cursed Thrall explosions were and still are very potent for ad clear. Necrochasm is basically a kinetic sunshot, and because it is kinetic, it has a 10% damage bonus over its energy counterparts to red bar enemies, which does mean it is doing slightly more damage to red bars than things like Graviton Lance or Sunshot. Now let's get into the special synergies the weapon is able to offer. First of all, the Cursed Thrall explosions actually deal arc damage despite the weapon being kinetic. This lets you do all kinds of silly things with this, and I actually have a really old video that goes over all of the synergies. However, the main one is that because they are arc, if you are running an arc or prismatic subclass and you get multi-kills with the Cursed Thrall explosion, it will make you amplified. This is of course provided you are running some arc ability in the first place, because on prismatic you won't be able to get amplified if you're not running an arc ability. However, if you are running an arc ability, especially this season, that is very good because it's basically a free way of getting amplified that doesn't rely on abilities. And the reason that is so important is because if we look at our artifact, we have the mod Galvanic Armor. Galvanic Armor reads, while you have an arc or prismatic subclass equipped, incoming damage from combatants is reduced while amplified, and this is a 30% damage reduction for simply just getting kills. This is a very powerful perk to pair with Necrochasm, and it just means you can run around with a little extra damage resistance whenever you are using it. Finally, because Necrochasm is technically a weapon of sorrow, which is a classification given to a select few weapons like Osteostriga and Thorn or Touch of Malice, it does have very good synergy with Necrotic Grips, because for those of you that didn't know, Necrotic Grips synergizes with the weapons of sorrow by allowing those weapons to create poison explosions on kill by simply having the gauntlets equipped. The synergies are mostly the same for every weapon, however they are slightly unique with Necrochasm, and in a good way as well, because I will demonstrate the Cursed Thrall explosions are the things that spread poison. So I do want you to look closely because it can be easy to miss. However, if I do get a headshot kill, it will spread the poison. So observe, I'll get this headshot kill. There we go, there was a little poison explosion there, and you can see it's applied to the Incendior, so there's the poison. The cool thing about that is that that isn't where the synergies with Necrotic Grip end. So one of the big problems with Necrochasm is that you have to get a headshot kill in order to trigger that Cursed Thrall explosion, which on an auto rifle, you know, auto rifles aren't really the best archetype of weapon to be getting headshot kills. However, with Necrotic Grip, there is a way around this. The cool part about a poisoned enemy is that they are technically like primed for Necrochasm to create a Cursed Thrall Thrall explosion, and it doesn't need a headshot for it to happen. The best way I can show you this is on a higher health enemy, which is why I've come to Neomuna. So if I just weaken this guy a little bit, and then I apply poison, and I'll intentionally not headshot him, it creates a Cursed Thrall explosion, which is pretty cool. It removes the requirement from having to get a headshot, which means you can get a lot more multi-kills, especially if you are using Necrotic Grips, because you're going to be spreading poison everywhere, which means that if you get an explosion to proc, the higher health enemies that are left over that don't die, you can just shoot them directly in the face or just in the body, whatever. It doesn't have to be a headshot, and it will create another explosion which can chain into even more, which is pretty cool. This is a super easy way of getting the perk rolling, and I've even procured a build for you that basically maximizes this effect in order to crank this weapon to the max. So without going into too much detail, because I don't want this video to be too long, we are obviously going to be using Necrotic Grip, and then we're also going to be on Prismatic Warlock, because we have access to Arcane Needles, which just gives us 3 melee charges, as in 3 separate instances of poison. We can use our regular melee for poison if we want to, but our power melee can do the same thing, and we have more of them, so why not? We also have Feed the Void to give us Devour. I also have Lightning Surge, which is a bit of an interesting pick, but you'll see it is pretty fun. Because Lightning Surge technically is a melee ability, it will also spread poison whenever we use it. So essentially what you would do is you would Lightning Surge into a group. If there are any ads left alive that are still poisoned, you can shoot them with Necrochasm. They will blow up. Doesn't have to be a headshot because they will be poisoned. And you can basically just keep the loop going and going. This is a very similar build to my other Warlock build that I posted about a week ago. This is the sort of Transcendent spam in 10 seconds type build. So the fragments from that build are exactly the same. We're basically just specking into Transcendence gains with Facet of Grace. I'm also taking Storm Grenade here just in case I don't get enough multi-kills with Lightning Surge to get amplified with Cursed Thrall explosions from Necrochasm. Mods wise, it's nothing really special. I just have a Kinetic Surge here to buff my Necrochasm by around 10%, and then a couple mods like Heavy Handed to make an orb on melee kill, Heavy Ammo Finder, Kinetic Siphon, very important here, just to feed into our Kinetic Surge, Time Dilation, couple ability gen mods, doesn't really matter. The main thing is you just want to be on a Necrotic Grip setup with either Strand or Prismatic Warlock. I prefer Strand because you can do things like Song of Flame, Feed the Void, Lightning Surge, very fun melee. You can do 3 of them back to back, especially if you have Arcane Needle. So yeah, let me show you guys what this actually looks like. So as you guys know, I do like to bring my builds into high level content just to show you how they perform in said content, which is why today I've come to the Neomuna -10 Thrillerdrome Lost Sector, just to kind of give you guys a feel of how this gun performs in sort of low light content. So I'll just try and get Devour off that guy. Now I'm just going to go to town here, get some kills, get Desperation going. Do you know what? Here, I'm going to poison this guy, and I'm going to kill this guy. There we go. Big explosion from the poison, showcasing that tech. Get some more here, try and get a headshot on this guy. See, not too bad to headshot the Vex, but if there was an enemy type that would benefit from the special tech, it would be the Vex, because of how hard their crit is to hit sometimes. I'm Transcendent here, so I might as well just pop this. Just go into this group, do a little Lightning Surge, get the poison going, explosion off him. There's a Minotaur that spawns here, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to Lightning Surge him, show you that the poison applies. That must be on cooldown there, but there we go, we got the explosion, and there we are. Try and get a headshot kill on this guy. Big explosion there, spreading poison everywhere. It's lovely, honestly. Well, there's a guy we left behind, it seems. Off you go, off you go, off you go. I'll go for another Lightning Surge here, because why not? Just a bit of fun. Get these guys down, another Lightning Surge. Another one. I'll just poison this guy normally. We'll break him, get the chain reaction going, kill all of them. Oh, it's just so satisfying just killing the poisoned enemies to cause the explosion. So yeah, I hope the gameplay throughout this video and that little demonstration has given you a good idea of how good this weapon is now, especially when paired with Necrotic Grips. As always, I will have a dim link to this build in the description if you just want to copy it hassle-free and have a bit of fun yourself. But yeah, guys, do consider taking Necrochasm out of your vault, because now it is a very solid primary weapon, even competing with the likes of Kvostov, Sunshot, and Graviton Lance. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next one. If you made it this far, thank you so much. Your support means the world. And if you're really into the content I create, consider becoming a member of the channel, which not only lets you support me in the best way possible, it also nets you a whole host of awesome perks along with it. A massive shout out to these members up on screen, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye for now, dear viewer.